You're watching Inside Automotive with Jim Fitzpatrick.
Hey everyone, Jim Fitzpatrick. Thanks so much for joining me on another edition of Inside Automotive right here at CBT News. What can January sales data tell us about where the industry is headed in 2025? Joining us now to walk us through the data is Chesbrough with Cox Automotive. He's a senior economist there. Thank you so much, Charlie, for joining us on the show today.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me.
Sure. So, we know that January is typically one of the slowest volume sales months of the year. How did new vehicle sales perform in January for the 2025?
Yeah, it was a bit of a mixed bag. The sales pace for vehicle sales in December finished the year at 16.8 million. So a very fast clip, really the best month that we've had since sort of the spring of 2021. But then in January, the sales pace fell to 15.6 million. So down a full over a million unit decrease in terms of pace. And that would suggest that, the market maybe took a little bit of a vacation in January, maybe a little post-holiday blues. And so there is some concern that maybe that's indicating that 2025 starting off on a bad note. But I do think we have to keep in mind there was a lot of crazy weather in the month of January. Yeah. We had cold throughout much of the South and the Midwest.
That's right.
As well as crazy fires out in Los Angeles. So a lot of things contributed to that. So I think the vehicle sales market still was up on a year-over-year basis, and that still lends itself to what our view is for the year, which is a little bit better than last year.
Okay. And what did you see in January sales data that could be encouraging or worrying signs for the industry?
Well, one of the things that we saw was a continuing trend that we saw in 2024, which was a shift towards smaller. So it appears that consumers are continuing to keep the need for a pickup truck or the need for a crossover, but they're buying a smaller size of that. Okay. So we saw in the January numbers that mid-size car and mid-size SUV share of the market actually fell, but compact SUV share actually rose. And so that was a trend that we'd seen in 2024, and that appears to be continuing here in 2025, that consumers are looking for a way to mitigate that affordability, so they're getting a slightly smaller vehicle.
Okay. Perfect segue to the next conversation, or the next question, I should say. What role are inventory and pricing playing in the new retail market so far in 2025?
Well, we're starting the year with close to 3 million units of inventory around the country. So there's quite a bit of inventory out there, certainly a couple 100,000 more than we had at this point last year. So the whole inventory issue is an old story now in terms of anything lean out there. There's plenty of product out there on dealer lots, and the days of supply is starting to slow a little bit. We're finding days of supply north of 90 days now, or 3 months. So I think the outlook out there right now is that dealers are going to be looking to make a deal here this spring because they got quite a bit of inventory and they're going to need to move the metal. Yeah,
for sure. Obviously, we couldn't have a conversation about the automotive U.S. market without mentioning tariffs. What's your take on tariffs? And is this a real threat, and will it have an impact in sales?
Well, it certainly is a major threat. If President Trump goes through with these 25% tariffs in Canada and Mexico, there's no way that the industry can avoid not having price increases across products, across the spectrum, probably for almost everybody.
Right.
So it's a real threat out there, but it's a lot of talk so far, not a whole lot of action. So it's certainly a threat for the industry, but I don't think it's anything yet that's disrupting sales. If anything, it may be moving some consumers to maybe move up their purchasing a little bit sooner than they might have done otherwise to try and beat these incoming tariffs and try to get a price today. Yeah,
for sure. And there's a lot of dealers that I've spoken to around the country that are concerned. In many cases, they're fans of what President Trump, and he's very pro-business and feel as though in the long term he'll be good for the country in terms of the business sector, but they are concerned about these tariffs, that's for sure. Yeah. Rightfully so.
Yeah, as they should be. It would be a big hit to the bottom line, I think.
Yeah. As we close out last year, Cox Automotive was forecasting slow growth continued for this year for the third consecutive year, with 2025 volume around 16.3. Are you still comfortable with that forecast today?
Yeah, that's still our outlook. We still expect the market to just do a little bit better than it did last year, maybe up in the neighborhood of 1% or so. Really, just that the buying conditions are moving a little bit more towards the consumer's direction. We're still expecting interest rates to come down just a little bit. And of course, continued economic growth and job creation. It's just a recipe that says the market should do a little bit better. But there's still certainly a lot of headwinds out there that are keeping us from a more robust market.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Obviously, 2024 was another record year for EV sales. Based on EV sales so far, do you expect that trend to continue in 2025?
We do. We do expect vehicle sales to be higher this year than they were last year. There's a lot of EV product already out there.
Yeah.
And it's really less of a Tesla game now and more of a traditional manufacturer's game. They've got a lot of competitive EV products out there now that are starting to get some attention. So we remain optimistic that EVs are going to see a better year this year than they did last year. But certainly we're not going to get to the levels that we had been talking about just a couple of years ago of EVs just taking over the vehicle market on a quick basis.
Right, for sure. And of course, with the president, moving to take away any kind of incentives on EVs, that'll be interesting to see what kind of impact that has, right?
Well, it certainly that $7,500 tax credit has been a big boost to EV purchasing and leasing in particular.
Yeah.
If the president did get rid of that, that would be a big blow. But again, it's a lot of talk. He hasn't done it yet, so I'm not so convinced that he's actually going to.
Especially with Elon Musk at his right hand, right? On all these
absolutely.
things. Interesting. So, if you could recommend one thing for dealers to focus on as we head into March and to end the Q1 as strong as we can, what would it be?
Well, I think one area of the market that's looking to grow here in 2025 is going to be some of the lower FICO score customers that you have out there, more of your subprime buyers. They've been a minor part of the market the last couple of years. They kind of got chased out in the post-COVID marketplace. I think we're going to see lending to these types of buyers become a little bit more free this year, a little bit loosening of the purse strings. And so I do think that there's going to be some growth opportunities with some of the more credit challenged buyers out there. So I would keep an eye on them and see what you can do to help get them some financing. It should get a little bit better.
Yeah. So dealers that are listening, maybe consider a second chance financing arm or a division, right? That takes care of those 5 low 6 credit scores because they're out. They're out there in a big way.
I think that's a growth part of the market, I think.
Yeah, very interesting. Charlie Chesbrough, senior economist at Cox Automotive. Thank you so much for stopping by CVT News and giving us an update on this.
All right, thanks, Jim.
Thanks.
Thanks for watching Inside Automotive with Jim Fitzpatrick.